Welcome and congratulations on enrolling in the Crystal Healing Crash Course. So we designed this mini course to be an ultra-condensed version of our full course, The Lightworker's Guide to Crystals and Crystal Healing. You can find the link to our full course below this video if you're interested in learning more about crystal healing, but in this mini course, we're going to take a look at some of the essentials that you're going to need to begin your crystal healing journey. Our full course contains video lessons detailing over 250 different crystals, and this ends up being a total of about 16 hours of crystal knowledge, which is way too much to fit into our crash course. So let's jump right into it. Crystal healing, it just works. And by that, I mean that crystal healing is a wonderful and mystical thing that can and does work regardless of your direct action. So crystal healing works regardless of your direct action interaction. Yet it's true that, of course, crystals can be used to amplify energy healing, and you can also charge and program crystals with your intentions to aid in manifesting a certain outcome. But you don't actually need to do those things. Simply having a crystal in your space, well, it just works. Now, this is because a crystal can contain a specific vibration of energy. That is sort of in a way that a song contains a melody of tones and tempo and volumes and so on. Crystals are unique because of their vibratory makeup, that is, their frequency. That is to say that the energy that makes up all things material and immaterial takes on a complex pattern of frequency that expresses itself, in this case, as the manifestation of a crystal. Of course, vibratory creation takes on all forms in the universe, but in this case, we're going to be taking a closer look at crystals and why it is that they do what it is that they do. So you can understand a crystal sort of like this, if it helps. As you have no doubt experienced whilst listening to music, music has the ability to make you feel in a certain way, depending on what kind of music it is that you're listening to. Is it dance music? Is it sad piano music? Is it powerful drumming? Music, which is a frequency of energy, has the ability to create a unique effect upon our emotional state. Indeed, music, as an energy, has even been studied as having an influence on plants. It was studied and shown that plants actually respond favorably in their growth potential to classical music. And interestingly enough, they also respond favorably to heavy metal music, whereas other types of music would inhibit their ability to grow and flourish. So this suggests that beyond just the ability for music to affect humans on an emotional level, because we hear and experience music through our senses, beyond this, there is actually a vibrational energy pattern, which is created by music. And it is specific and nuanced as a song can be, or a style of music. So crystals, like music, can be understood as having a unique pattern. And its unique pattern helps to create a certain vibrational quality within the energetic ether of the universe, let's say it like that. And so in the process of understanding the different crystals and learning about the different crystals, that is actually a large part of what makes up the learning of crystal healing. So if you are to learn crystal healing, very much like if you were to use music to influence your mood in a high energy way, in a dancey way, or if you wanted to feel a little bit more melancholy, or you wanted to feel a little bit more relaxed, or if you wanted to sleep, you would know what kind of music to play to invoke those emotional states. So as you're learning crystal healing, a large part of what goes into the learning of crystal healing is learning which crystal to use, because like I said before, crystal healing, it just works. It works with or without you, it just works. Now let me put a small asterisk on that, because whilst it would be possible to listen to music and to block out the music kind of on a mental, emotional level, to kind of be inside your head and not really pay attention to the music that's going on, yes, you can block out the effects of crystals. It is by not allowing the crystal to work on you that you would be able to block out a crystal's frequency, or at least inhibit a crystal's frequency. You can't entirely tune out music. You probably can't entirely tune out the frequency of a crystal. It will have some influence and some effect. But you can certainly work against the vibrational frequency of a crystal, just like you can sort of tune your mind out of music. That being said, for music to have its most effect on you emotionally, you just have to listen. You have to allow it. You have to tune into it. And crystal healing works the same way. For crystals to have their most effect on you, you have to allow them. You have to tune into them. Well, it certainly helps to tune into them. You don't have to tune into them, but it helps to at least allow them, to not provide resistance to the idea of crystal healing and allowing them to do their work. So let's go on to the next section here. It is unique to us humans that we can easily experience the energy pattern, which is music. And that is because it is a type of energy which our senses are developed to perceive. We can experience the energy of music with our senses, in this case, the ears. And so understanding that music has the ability to create a unique reaction depending on its vibrational frequency can help us to understand how crystals have a frequency which has an effect on our frequency. We don't necessarily perceive the vibrational quality of crystals with our senses, however, and this is the difference. Although there are some highly sensitive people who can tune into the vibrational frequency of crystals and experience their inner essence. And indeed, that is something that you can learn to do and should learn to do on your journey to becoming a crystal healer. However, even though we may not easily perceive the vibrational effect of a crystal, that doesn't mean that it isn't working, that its effect and its energies aren't all around it. And like I say, crystals just work. You don't need to feel them or directly perceive them with your senses, you just need to allow them. And you need to know which crystals to use, and that, like I say, is one of the major parts of crystal healing. So our full course, of course, it contains over 250 different crystals and gemstones for all sorts of really condensed but powerful learning. We've split apart the around 250 different crystals into anywhere between 2 to 6 minute mini sessions to help you to learn what you need to know about crystals without overloading you on crystal information. Like I say, even at the 3-minute range, there is still over 16 hours of video lessons in our full course. So yeah, we've made them as condensed as possible so you can actually potentially learn about all the different crystals in a reasonable time frame. Okay, now, as I mentioned earlier, it is indeed possible to empower your crystals and actively use them in energy healing and other healing modalities such as meditation, breath work, and so on. And indeed, our full course will dive more deeply into the details of programming your crystals and empowering other types of energy healing effects using crystals. But for now, in this crash course, I think it will be enough to make you aware that crystals in energy healing are often used as amplifiers of life force energy. That is chi, however you want to call it. It goes by a variety of names, but it is the spiritual energy that exists when all things. It is the aura, it is our energy field. And so in energy healing, we work with this energy field, and with crystals, we can enhance and empower and direct that energy and also transmute it, depending on which crystals we use. So typically, in crystal healing, crystal energy healing, you will want to use a semi-transparent crystal as an amplifier with a point on one end. The pointed end is the direction which shoots out the energy that you will be channeling into the crystal from your own energy field. The reason that we would use a clear or semi-clear crystal is this. Think about light. Light is energy, and think about how light travels through a crystal. Okay, so number one, the first thing we notice with a transparent or semi-transparent crystal when we think about light is that light does actually move through it. Now compare that to an opaque crystal like obsidian. Light is absorbed. light is contained. Light transforms into something else, in this case, heat, right? If you were to shine sunlight down onto a piece of obsidian stone, that piece of obsidian stone would become warmer and warmer. Light would not pass through it, but the energy from the sunlight would be contained within it and be transformed into a different form of energy. Whereas something like clear quartz, if you were to shine light down on clear quartz, what would happen is that the light would actually pass through it. It would pass through it in a variety of different ways, creating all sorts of interesting rainbow patterns, and it would actually shine all the way through it. And so very much like light is transformed, let's use amethyst as a nice example. Light is transformed in color from white light color into a more purple color if it passes through amethyst. Energy is also transformed, that is the bioenergy that we're using in energy healing is also transformed as it passes through a crystal. So that's a nice way to think about how our chi energy interacts with a crystal. Just think of light and how light works when passing through a crystal or being absorbed by a different type of crystal such as obsidian. Anyway, when using crystals to amplify energy healing, you would typically channel energy in through the back of a crystal and then use the point of your crystal to direct that energy out to whatever the subject of your healing efforts are. Now, this course is not specifically an energy healing course, however, it should be mentioned that when channeling energy into a crystal, to be mindful that you are connecting to a divine source, or nature, for example, is a wonderful source for channeling energy from. Energy can also be channeled from higher realms, but the important thing when channeling energy in a healing capacity is to connect with a source of energy greater than your own personal energy field. If you're channeling your own personal energy field in crystal healing, what will happen is you will find yourself depleting yourself of your own energy reserves. And as you become depleted, your ability to interact with the finer layers of energy and divine creation becomes more limited. The higher your own personal energy field is, the easier it is to interact with those higher divine energies. So just a side note to be mindful if you do practice this, to imagine yourself channeling from a higher source, such as nature, such as the divine, such as the heavens, such as the spirit realms, however you like to think about it, through yourself, through your own bioenergy, into the crystal and out to whatever you're working on. Okay, so side note there, just wanted to mention that. Now, as we touched upon a moment ago, a crystal like obsidian or tourmaline would not be used to direct energy, but instead they would be used to absorb, perhaps, or attract erratic energy, sometimes called negative energy. But you could think about negative energy instead of being something negative. Rather, negative energy is something which is erratic. Again, going back to the example of music, because it's an easy way to understand energy. Erratic energy, or negative energy, could be considered something like a child banging away on a piano without any musical skills. Yes, there is sound, yes, you can hear it, but it lacks in harmony, and the sequence of tonality is erratic. It's not typically very pleasant, and we experience it as a negative, thus the term negative energy. But really, it's energy which has become erratic and lost its harmony. Negative energy is not necessarily bad energy. It's just energy that needs to be grounded, stabilized, and made returned to harmony. Energy healers will sometimes transmute negative energy using their own energy as a stabilizing field, although it can be a bit hazardous to do this if you're untrained, as erratic energy can overwhelm cohesive energy if it's taken in too fast. Crystals, however, such as obsidian and tourmaline, are very powerful energy structures and are very good at absorbing negative energies. So if you were to use crystals like tourmaline or obsidian to diffuse negative energy, to protect from negative energy, the question often comes up, how much negative energy can a piece of tourmaline absorb? How powerful is that crystal? Well, that's a very interesting question. Think about sunlight. Again, let's go back to the metaphor of sunlight being shined into a piece of obsidian, what happens? The piece of obsidian heats up, right? It heats up and it transforms that sunlight energy into heat. And then what happens to that heat? It's a transmuted energy. It's a transformed energy. It's actually restabilized into a different type of energy, but it's found its harmony again. And so what happens to that heat is eventually it will dissipate from that piece of tourmaline and re-enter into the world's energy field as a harmonized energy. So you can think about obsidian, for example, or tourmaline in a similar way. So how powerful is obsidian? How powerful is tourmaline? How much of this negative energy can they absorb? Well, you could say that over time, enough sunlight will eventually decay or degrade or change the color of a crystal, for example. Yes, this is true. However, consider this. While it is certainly possible for one form of energy to build up to such a degree that it will overwhelm another form of energy, all manifestations, material and immaterial, in the universe are energy. There are different forms of energy. Some of them are more dense, some of them are less dense. Air is not the same as water. Water is not the same as fire. They are different energy patterns with different densities of energy. Now, the power of something like obsidian to transmute one form of energy, such as our sunlight example, into heat, how long do you think obsidian would be able to do that for? How long do you think obsidian has been around on this earth for within its current energy structure, that of obsidian? Eventually, energy changes over time. All energy will transmute. No energy stays the same forever. That is true of all things. That being said, the stones and crystals are one of the oldest forms of matter, material manifested energy that we know of, certainly. And if a stone can maintain its cohesive shape, a stone or a crystal can maintain its shape, its manifestation for millions, if not billions of years, it gives you some indication of just how powerful that form of energy is. So when it comes to a question like, well, how much negative energy can a piece of obsidian absorb or handle? Well, I consider that piece of stone has probably been around for millions of years, and I think it's pretty safe to say that that is a powerful form of energy, and it is capable of handling a lot. Basically, let's just say a lot of negative energy absorption. I think you're safe in using a single piece of tourmaline essentially indefinitely. Now, that being said, there are some great practices that you can use to cleanse your crystals and to charge your crystals, and we'll talk about a lot of those in our expanded crystal healing course. But for now, I think it's interesting enough and enough to understand that crystals are extremely powerful manifestations of energy. And that is it. Let's move on to the next section. Let's talk now about the chakras. Using crystals to energize the chakras, to unblock and clear the chakras, is one of the major ways that you will be using your crystals in crystal healing. The chakras, I think most everyone is probably now aware, are those energy centers within the body, 7 major centers in total, from the crown to the root chakra, with hundreds, if not thousands, of minor chakras, minor energy centers that aren't typically as well known. For example, you have minor energy centers in the tips of your fingers and the palms of your hands, your toes, and so forth. But the major centers are typically what everyone talks about, and typically what will be addressed in crystal and energy healing. It is said that the free flow of energy in the body is at the source of good health and well-being. It is also said that dis-ease occurs where there is a blockage in the flow of vital life force energy. Different chakras can become blocked by emotional trauma experienced in life. Shyness, for example, or not being able to speak up for yourself, may lead to the blockage in the throat chakra, the center of communication. Our crystal healing course, that is our complete crystal healing course, the Lightworker's Guide to Crystals and Crystal Healing, will go more deeply into the chakras and their associations with the different crystals. But for now, it is enough to understand that circumstances such as emotional, mental, or physical difficulties in life, as well as spiritual difficulties from the past, can lead to the blocking of your major chakras, which can then interfere with your health and well-being. To help counter this, we can use crystals. Each crystal tends to have a different level of connection to one of your chakra centers, and in some cases, several different chakra centers. And in crystal healing, it can be enough to place the correct crystal at the right energy chakra, where you could then meditate or practice energy channeling, or just relax and allow the crystal to do its work. We will talk more about crystals in the next sections of this crash course and how they are used in crystal healing, which chakras to use them on, and so forth. But I also want to mention now the importance of allowing. So in much the same way that we can mentally block out music or somebody talking to us and we can just sort of put these things on ignore, in a similar way we can block out the beneficial effects of crystals. You can indeed block out the effects of crystals by mentally or emotionally resisting the idea that crystals can help you. And it is in the allowing of the belief that crystals can help you that gives crystal healing much of its potency. Some may call crystal healing a placebo effect, but I would argue that if crystal healing can trigger just the placebo effect, which may in fact be the most powerful and mysterious form of self-healing that has been reported to be able to accomplish some healing effects well beyond what our most advanced medical science has been able to do, then I would say bring on the placebo effect. Perhaps the placebo effect is not the thing that we think it is. The placebo effect has certain associations as being something which is not real or not true. But that being said, the placebo effect has been documented to bring on spontaneous beneficial effects simply because it is something that we believe can work. And in this case, the placebo effect is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to understanding the complete equation of how these subtle, mysterious energies of thought, of emotion, of spirit, and of life, and the universal energy all interact with each other. So perhaps it is placebo, perhaps it is the power of belief, perhaps it is the mysterious vibrational field of crystals and their mystical energies, which is at the heart of crystal healing. Whatever it is, one thing that I do know is that deciding upon a journey of discovery is its own reward every step of the way, and that everything that we learn empowers all other things that we ever will learn. As for myself, I have explored many healing modalities, from nutrition to Reiki to meditation to sound therapy to Reich's frequency generators, and it goes on. And the one thing that seems to at least be true of all these things is to believe in the journey, to believe in yourself, and to learn to transform negative behavior into positive behavior. Use meditations, use crystals, use whatever brings you joy. And when you find true joy, true relaxation, and peace, I believe that health and well-being will just naturally flow. Namaste. I hope you have enjoyed our crash course on crystal healing, and if this mini course has whetted your appetite and you'd like to try our full course, you can actually find the link to the complete Lightworker's Guide to Crystals and Crystal Healing, where we talk about the chakras in more detail. We talk about preparing crystal grids, we talk about scrying, we talk about all sorts of really great, interesting, crystal-y things. I think you're really going to like the Lightworker's Guide to Crystal and Crystal Healing if you do decide to pursue this crystal healing journey even further. We've also included meditations and relaxing audio tracks. We've got about 8 or 9 hours of beautiful, pristine nature sound effects to help you relax, to help you cleanse your space, recorded from some of the most pristine locations in the world where there is no interruption from the typical hum of the world, just nature on its own. So we have some really beautiful meditations, we have some beautiful nature soundtracks, we have an additional 250 some odd crystals and stones that we talk about. So you will become an absolute expert on all things crystal and stone. All of our crystal lectures are presented in video format, narrated by me, with photos to help illustrate all the different crystals, how to identify them, and that sort of thing. So yeah, if you really want to dive deeply into crystal healing, absolutely do check out the Lightworker's Guide to Crystals and Crystal Healing. We're offering it right now for 50% off. Not too sure how long we're going to keep that promotion going, for a little while at least. So be sure to act on that if you want to receive a discount on enrollment and otherwise. And I hope you have all enjoyed this. Hope you all have a great day. Hope you all have a beautiful life. And I'll talk to you in the future. All right.